follow. So I thought I was the number one cheerleader, but I guess Nancy is. So the first item is to freeze the assistant city manager position. I know that's not very visionary, but I was looking at the cost of that position in relationship to a lot of other needs in our city, specifically areas such as HR, our finance department, our IT, and so I was just keeping that in mind, with the understanding that when we determine how our finances are looking in a couple of years, to revisit that, to come back and look at that position and see how we are financially. Also, there were a couple other positions. One is an assistant to the city manager. That position is a senior management position, so it's not obviously an assistant city manager, but it would allow somebody to come in and do more project level things. I think you all know that I spend a lot of my time doing a lot of different things every day, and I'm in a lot of meetings. I follow up on the meetings myself and do a lot of things like that, and a person like this would be able to assist in that and free me up to be able to do more higher level things. So that would be a position that would be helpful. It would also be able to help with other departments up on the third floor, economic development, if they had a specific project, things like that. So this person wouldn't necessarily be exclusive, but could be available to help out where needed. So that's one position. Another position that I'd like council to consider is a PIO, a public information officer, or some communities call it a communications officer. And that person would be the point person for all of Antioch's communication, be it social media, be it crisis management, be it website. There's a lot of different areas that all the different departments are handling on an individual basis. I think Kwame mentioned that Lizette spends a lot of time managing my Facebook page on social media and Antioch on the Move and things like that. A lot of folks, as we know, use social media to ask questions these days. They use it like email or a text message. And so there's a need to be real-time responding to folks, and that's something that takes up other people's time. So I see this position as being something that could provide a coordinated message for our city and just make sure that we do a better job than we're currently doing with the importance of social media, because I believe that that's something that is only going to become more and more important to Antioch in communicating with our constituents, with the members of this community. So that's a couple of things. I guess one of the things I just want to mention is I'd heard different people discuss what a city manager's role should be as far as dividing up their time, and I've heard it said, and I think this is probably pretty true, it's 1/3 city council, 1/3 staff, and 1/3 community and other things. And when I say city council, I don't communicate with you all 1/3 of my time, but that would be preparing staff reports and things that go to you that are council level communications, responding to emails and things like that. The 1/3 with the staff, I feel it's very important to stay in close communication with the department heads to make sure that they're executing the vision of the city council, and so that's something that I could definitely spend some more time doing. And then just as far as the community is concerned, I spent a lot more time, I think, when I first started as city manager out in the community than I find myself currently doing, and I think it's important to be out and about, and then also addressing higher level issues, such as at the state level with some of our assembly members, our senators. I know that when I do get a chance to meet with them, it's always very beneficial and productive, but it's few and far between. And so I think that these two positions would free me up to spend more time in those types of opportunities. So I'd be glad to answer any questions council would have.
That's me.
I'm just looking.
And I'm looking back at you.
Go ahead.
So thank you, Ron, for that. And so I have three questions, and it's kind of going along the same theme of what I've been asking earlier tonight. And you touched on it, but I want you to talk on it more about, what is your vision for the city, and what is your vision as your role of the city manager? My first two questions.
So my vision for the city, and I'm obviously not acting as a city council member, but I want Antioch to be a place where people want to come to raise their families. I want Antioch to be a place where people want to live after they retire, that have spent their lives here. And I want Antioch to be a place where children that grew up in Antioch want to come back to. This would be a community that they would like to raise their families at. And I also see Antioch as a place that's has a robust business opportunities for people to be able to work here, to shop here, to find entertainment here. So I see Antioch as being a destination that people come to and don't have any reason to leave. So that's my vision for Antioch, obviously through the city council's larger vision and policies, but that's in my heart what I like to see happen in Antioch. As I see my role is making sure that I understand the policies that council is establishing as policymakers. I bring you all a budget that's balanced and that reflects your desires for our staffing levels and what you would like to see accomplished. And then I execute that through our excellent staff and the people that will make sure that we make your policies and your vision come to pass in the time frame that you would like to see that happen.
So that's a lot there, and thank you for that. What would you need to get you to accomplish all that what is it that you're going to need to help support you to get to this vision that you have of the city and the role of the city manager?
I think the two positions that have been identified here would go a long ways towards accomplishing that.
So I see 3 positions, so you just said 2.
Well, I'm not including the assistant city manager in this discussion, so I have.
Why wouldn't you include? I mean, you put it down here to freeze.
So the assistant city manager position, I was looking at it as the city manager. I feel a responsibility to the overall organization, and I see there's a lot of departments that have significant needs, and frankly, I would feel selfish adding a city. I'm just telling you, I'm being perfectly honest. Adding an assistant city manager with how much that costs when I think there's other positions that could be added for the same amount of money. With that being said, Antioch does not do a great job of succession planning just because our organization is so flat. And so when our department heads, besides the police department, we don't have deputies for department heads. And then John's trying to eliminate his last deputy right now. So we don't have people that are being brought up to the organization that understand the culture, understand the vision.
But can I stop you there for a second? I mean, and I hear what you're saying. So what is it that's going to take you, because you had said earlier, you alluded to knowing about policy. I think you alluded to something about Sacramento. Was it going to take you to be able to achieve those goals, which it sounds like to me will help you move us forward?
It's gonna take other people to assist me to free me up from not having to be in the office so much, and being able to get out and to go to Sacramento and to go to our assembly members and senators and supervisors' offices and other leaders of our water districts and agencies, being able to communicate with the general managers and folks at my level to make sure that Antioch's getting all that we should be and not being surprised. So it's gonna take some assistance or some help, and
Like assistant city manager?
I mean I'm not gonna,
Because this is, I mean, essentially the price tag that you put here is up to, but it seems like that's something that you're going to need to be able to achieve what you need to do to move us forward.
I think an assistant city manager, and I'll use Pittsburgh as an example, their city manager retired in December, and they appointed their new city manager, who was their assistant, in January, and so they haven't missed a beat. That person came up through the organization. Now they've had an assistant city manager for quite a while, but that person was able to just continue the vision, execute what was happening, and there wasn't a disconnect in the organization, which can really stall things out if you don't have a good succession plan. So to answer your question, yes, an assistant city manager would be awesome. I'd love to have one. I can't say that.
But you just said you love to have one, but yet you put a freeze on it.
I put a freeze on it because I know the budget numbers, and when you see them come back in the first meeting in April, when we bring you back the general fund budget, you'll probably see why I put a freeze on it.
But it's good to know that that's something you want to be able to accomplish, succession planning, to free you up to go out and see, what else is essentially see what else is out there that possibly you can bring back to the city. But I understand why you want to, I understand what you're saying about wanting to freeze it, but it's good to know that you would like it if we were able
I'd
to.
love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Watts.
So, Ron, does the assistant to the city manager, it doesn't really accomplish the same thing?
No, it does not.
Correct?
Correct. Yeah, that individual would most likely not, it may, that could go into an assistant city manager position, but it probably wouldn't jump to a city manager position.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Thorpe.
So Joy, you had asked for a PIO, something that came from you. So this is something that I thought we should have for a long time. So I like that in there. It would be much less expensive if we contracted it out. I probably share the same concerns about an assistant to the city manager versus an assistant city manager, and I don't want to get into it in the public, but we can certainly talk about it. But the supervision side, and so that's my only concern is that the supervision side, and so I just think there needs to be some more responsibility shared, or you need to let go some of that, not let go of the responsibility, but you need to share that with somebody, because I just see some cracks, and I see things falling through the cracks, and can be frustrating.
So if I look at what you've planned, based on what you wrote, it looks like your plan is to fill in with an assistant to the city manager, PIO, over the next 2 years, then relook at assistant city manager and succession planning. Is that pretty much what I'm seeing here?
Yes, that's correct.
And so you've brought us pretty much a net neutral adjustment to the budget, right? You're going to freeze one position, saving us $370,000. You've asked for two positions, which are going to cost us a little less than $370,000. You've come in net neutral on your budget to be able to, because you see the potential decisions that we're going to have to make, because we're going to have to make some hard decisions as we come down.
Correct.
So I appreciate what you've done and your foresight. I mean, there can be a discussion had as to, right, I mean, for an extra 170,000 basically increase, instead of an assistant two, having an assistant could be a discussion item as we go forward in the budget, as we're making decisions. And I think that's some of what you've heard.
Certainly,
As
I
a
understand.
potential. So I think, I just laugh every time I see assistant to the city manager. I'm a big Office fan, The Office, and that was the running joke, was assistant or assistant to. So I appreciate your report. Thank you, Ron.
Okay.